Okay, welcome in everybody. Just work with us here. We're getting some things up and moving. Gonna have to adjust some things. I'm Beating Barry. It's Keystone Prime Weather, and you're looking at a blank backdrop right now, a storm photo. It's because we have to get the radar up and running. Give me a second to do that here. Still in the early stages of the broadcast, and nothing ever goes according to plan when it comes to the technical aspects here. It's been the first time we've streamed live using this streaming encoder in about a month. So I'm going to have to go here to go to radar and frame. Actually, I'm going to have to go to radar and frame, so you're going to see a little behind the scenes here. We're going to look at radar and frame. That's going to pop that up. Then I'm going to have to go to the field radar setting. Go to the properties and select again. There we go. There we are. Don't know why this happens, but it does. And now we'll go back to our radar box. Have Ryan y'all on PA, tornado on the ground, East Pittsburgh. If there was a tornado on the ground in East Pittsburgh, I would know it. Greensburg, Jeanette, that area south of US 30. South of US 30 over there in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, I heard that there was an ongoing tornado over there. There's another storm that was prompting tornado warnings earlier. Now, I don't know if my warnings haven't updated on the map. I don't know if my warnings haven't updated on the map, or if they dropped the warning, but there was a tornado warned storm just southwest of the city of Pittsburgh. It's moving into the city right now. Just kind of decided to get up off my couch and leave my house and use truck this morning, which did not work out. I will say that, did not work out. Nothing against somebody who wants a price for what they have. It's just that the price that was stated was much higher than what it sure did it. Let's go ahead and get you a different view here. I don't have my internal camera right now, so we're looking at a couple different views. I don't have the internal camera up and running at the moment. Like I said, this was very spur of the moment, last second, and half of that view is my dashboard. So let me help you out there. Let me move the camera. There we go. Good little remote. We're going to head down to the Pennsylvania Turnpike, though, because I think that's going to be the intercept point, probably, at least for this system of rain that's moving through these showers. Looking at a tornado-warned storm, at least was earlier. Once again, I have no idea. My warning feed has frozen. On in the world out there. That was Gravelman here. Chesterfield, Virginia. Chesterfield, Virginia, go ahead and take cover. You have a tornado-warned storm. For southwestern Chesterfield County in central Virginia, this was until 4:45 p.m. So you got about 13 minutes left on this. Just hit at 4:22 p.m. It's going to be down around Moseley. Tornado located over Moseley. So you're looking at the Ettrick-Matoaka area, Ettrick-Matoaka district, roughly in far southern Chesterfield County, southwestern Chesterfield County. And that's moving east at 20 miles per hour. It's indicated by radar. So anybody back home, go ahead and take cover if you're in southern Chesterfield County, Virginia. Moving back to Allegheny County. So we got a flash flood warning down there in Allegheny County. This is coming on the heels of northwestern Allegheny County, and yeah, that kind of wraps down to the west side of Allegheny. That area is particularly prone to flash flooding. Now, this storm from earlier was capable of producing a tornado, so we're going to continue to head on it. It's getting really, really messy looking. So it looks like a lot of QLCS spin-ups types of deal out there today. QLCS spin-ups. QLCS spin-ups possible throughout the day there. And we saw what could have been two of them. I believe one of the viewers here, and I'm only getting this information from the viewer, I believe he was talking about it was possibly sighted on the ground in Westmoreland County. And if it was, this is going to be a very brief endeavor. Very in and out. As we continue to the south on Route 8 in southern Butler County, Pennsylvania. And this will lead us right to the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So this is going to be a two-road chase. I'm just sitting on my couch trying to enjoy the afternoon. Worked, what would that be, 20 hours? Worked 20 straight hours. Saturday night into Sunday. Or not Saturday night into Sunday, excuse me, Friday night into Saturday. And was a little tired. So, never get old, kids. Never get old. About ever since I was a teenager. About ever since I was a teenager. Ever since I was a teenager, I did that. That's how I got started in storm chasing. You just go out within 20 miles of your home and get whatever you can. You know, when you're 15, 16, 17, you are doing it.
Suzanne Drive, owner of a white heavy sedan, Romeo Alpha 7134.
Forgive me here, I'm just kind of keeping an ear on the radio as things go on as we get closer into Allegheny County. This would be, is this Nixon? Can't remember the name of this little area. Chase mode, and I'm trying to actually hear the radio traffic. It's never loud enough, and then every time I'm trying to speak while I'm driving into a microphone, it's way too loud. That's interesting. I remember the name of this little town here. Let's go ahead and check back on the HAZ alerts. I keep hearing them trigger off. It looks like that tornado warning in Chesterfield, Virginia has been extended. Oh no, it hasn't been extended. That's a timer. Yeah, that's a timer. You've got 6.5 minutes left on that tornado warning in Chesterfield, Virginia. And don't even take that as a time to all clear, because it may get extended. We'll go ahead and refresh HAZ alerts. Yeah, nothing new going on. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings out for Kansas, Louisiana, North Carolina, Illinois, Virginia, Texas, New Mexico, Missouri, just lighting up the board across the nation today. Plenty of people under warning today all throughout the country. Take a look there, you can see, yeah, and this is actually breaking apart. This is actually breaking apart. So all of that action is going to be way on down south. I'm probably just going to cancel off of this, just because that fell apart a lot quicker than I thought it would. So let's check out this gas station, because I don't see any reason to continue on this. It looks like the tornado warning for Allegheny County has been canceled. Truck needs gas anyway. Let's see how well the kickover, works. Go back to HAZ alerts, take a look at that. And it looks like the tornado warning for Chesterfield, Virginia has been canceled. Of course, the existing tornado warning in Kama County, down in Dallam County, Kama County, that's K-A-M-A, that's going to be the Amarillo office, down in Dallam County, Texas, has been observed with hail up to 2 3/4 inches. So if you're in Dallam, Texas, go ahead and take shelter. Let me go back and check this out here. I'm going to give you guys the radar back while I fuel up. Using the new lav mic system. You know what? I'm going to put a damn gas door button in the fender well so that I can reach both of the gas door. Okay, let's beep 17 times and do nothing. All right, there we go. All right. Have Ryan Hall on PA. Here, I'm going to have to put it in the chat. Chris Brinker, if you're watching, I know sometimes you are. Chris Brinker, if you are watching, please call me on Zello and verify if that storm to the east of Pittsburgh in Westmoreland County dropped a tornado, I'd like to know. I know you're right there at it. Calling you or anything on that, viewer James Cantees. Calling you or anything on that, viewer James Cantees there from YouTube. I'm not calling you a liar or anything. I think what you're trying to tell me is that there was a tornado warned, and that's east of Pittsburgh, which would have been the one out by Greensburg in West James, because there's a place called East Pittsburgh. It's east of Pittsburgh, just east of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County, and that happens to be my EMS district. And I'm being told that there was no tornado there. So don't want to unnecessarily panic people. I'm going to retrieve a drink for my thirst hole, and then I'm probably ending this chase. I'm realistically seeing nothing within my range, and especially nothing on that original storm that warrants going out after. Now, I'm looking at a storm right now that's stretching from about Greensburg to Latrobe to Ligonier on US 30. And there's another one down here. Who's right there? Bill Millington. Bill Millington, south of Bethel Park, east of Cannonsburg. I believe he is over in the Finleyville area. We're getting down towards Bethel Park, Cecil, Cannonsburg, Clairton, Elizabeth, that area. There are some storms going through there that are looking a little beefier. As a matter of fact, just in case those go off the rails, I might get down that way. I'm not 100% a believer, but you know what? Better than nothing.
For sure, I drove past 228. Is it on the left or right?
So the chase, I don't know. There's a little bit of energy in the area. There's a bit of energy in the area, and if there's something to be had down that way, why not try? However, figuring out how to get down that way. If I could make it to the US 30 corridor, go out past North Huntington, because that's the next place those are headed. And those actually look a little beefier. So the chase does continue. Chase continues south on Route 8. We're going to get out towards the US 30 corridor and see what happens. US 30 runs right by my workplace. I think what I could probably do is go ride the turnpike. I could ride the... Turn the radio up a little, but not too bad. As we pass by Adair Avenue. No, I'm not kidding. It's right there. To that new development over there. tomorrow, I swore, looked like a better day than today. And we'll probably be out tomorrow. Of course, there's a connection failure, supposed connection failure. Let's take a look at live storm chasing. Yeah. And thank you for the 73 viewers on livestormchasing.com, the Live Storm Chasing app. You can always catch us in the Live Storm Chasing app, livestormchasing.com, that's livestormchasing.com, hascams.com, and in the WeatherWise app. You can pull up the WeatherWise radar app and see where I am and what I'm seeing anytime I'm out. You can get that at weatherwise.app. That's available on all major platforms, Android and iPhone. And of course, if you're you can also get it in your browser at weatherwise.app. And if you subscribe to their Pro tier, you can also get that as a Windows desktop app. And all WeatherWise Pro tier offerings come with extra goodies. You're going to want the extra goodies, all kinds of features in there. That's what I use. That's what a lot of us are using now out on the road. So we got nothing but open road driving here. Probably going to give you over to some music, mute my microphone, and we're going to truck onto the Pennsylvania Turnpike on eastbound straight to Route 30 in Irwin so we can catch the stuff that's coming through further to the south.
How do you do? Go ahead, Bree.
All right, let's do that. To do now, we're going to try to get down towards Monroeville on the turnpike and go on to US 22. Looks like that stuff from the Latrobe area earlier is tracking a little north than it was, and it's going to be coming up on the 22 corridor. That looks to be kind of the juiciness of the day, and I want to make sure we don't miss anything more than we've already missed. Boomers stomping on the brake pedal in their 4th generation Taurus right in front of you. So that's where we're going. It's basically to the Monroeville exit, and then we're snaking around right there. There's a way to get on 22 eastbound right there, and we're going to take that instead of Route 30. Any of the stuff further to the south that was looking juicy, that's breaking apart. Just a very disappointing day. Started out looking great, but we're going to take 22 if we can get down there in time and try to snake through that thing that was producing earlier. And once we get on the turnpike, we won't be eternally stuck behind what appears to be older cars with every seat fully occupied by adults. That's always a great sign, by the way. Just a little bit of haze on that signature down there. Although I know that chasing on US 22 in that area is a pain, major pain, but we'll undergo that pain for you, the viewer. Oh boy, I can't wait to pass these people. Whatever booth they go through, I'm going through a different one. I'm going to try to cut them off at the booth. Yes. Yes, we will.
Pittsburgh 100.
They send Grandma for us out on the road today? Like, okay, everybody, this is the big day. It's going to be crappy outside. Hit the roads and drive in the left lane. All right. So, 76 Pennsylvania Turnpike over to Route 22. In Monroeville, let's go. If you're wondering why these weird approach angles and everything else, it's because this is Western Pennsylvania, and you literally can't get there from here. There is no grid box pattern. Everything follows river valleys. You have to drive 30 miles to the south to get 10 miles to the east. Even the routes marked east-west run north-south, so That's where we're at.
Okay, 355, station yard there.
Alright, I don't have much to say right now, sorry, but yeah, that's where we're going. 22 in Monroeville. We'll be back. up that actually use 48, get into Monroeville and take 48 down to the 30 corridor so we don't miss anything. Everything's going on right there, run around McKeesport, Trafford. See what happens, because that earlier storm is chugging on along, picked up some speed, so that's where we're going now. More later. We are in Irwin, Pennsylvania. We are currently in Irwin, Pennsylvania. We'll stop the sheets right here. Hit the can. Clean out the passenger side seat and floorboard just in case. And see how all we're doing there. Nice little system of storms going to be coming in to the south. And I'm going to stay right by here because it's in Charleroi, that area down through there.
Out at east. Copy 1728.
Trying to see if Joe Gambita, meteorologist Joe Gambita, wants to come out in the field. There's a guy walking with a baby through the parking lot.
16 responding with the fire department 309 5th Street, North Union, for possible structure fires. Caller stating that lightning struck the residence. Something burning inside.
Why don't we wander aimlessly with the baby? That would be great. All right, I'm going to take care of that. Give you the radar. We'll be right back. Alright, everybody, we're back. We are back in mobile here. And I'm going to turn on the camera here. So I'm going to go to Joe's house. I don't want to tell everybody where he lives. And then we're going to probably hop back on the turnpike and slide even further to the south. That's where it looks like the action's going to be. There's a sheets on each side of the turnpike here, which is just great. I've had a winter coat, a media coat, and a winter hat, and a custom limited one-of-one edition Pittsburgh Weather Dude hat for Joe for months that I haven't dropped off, and say I'll drop it off because I'm out here by him today. As we wait for the bulk of this main storm to come through. Although look at that developing up by the south of Trafford. I might head back north. Oh, what a day! That's that kind of day. Summertime pulse, convective storms. Going to get wet, but it's all wrapped in plastic anyway, so that's good. We got a half mile to go until we turn, thankfully. Alright guys, we're about to go into standby mode so that I don't show everybody where our chief meteorologist lives. We're going to go into standby mode on both streams, so if you're watching over on Hascams and the CDN side, please be patient. And now you're exclusive on the social media, although that will also soon go down as we mask into the back here. Oh, great. Missed the damn turn. All right. Here. Let me just key us in here. Okay, that drop-off has been made. Dropped off equipment at Chief Meteorologist Joe Gambita's house because I was out here. I'm really still not sure about this system because it is so messy. This is the nature of summertime pulse thunderstorms. You get this a lot. There's stuff with very little track to it, and it pops up and then it disappears and it pops back up in other areas. Oh, all right. Here we go. Food Mart.
Can I get a number? Copy.
Why is everything one way going the other way? Ugh. Headed back towards the turnpike, but I'm going to have to get over onto 30.
389 National Township. One vehicle into a mailbox, possibly negative injuries.
And that's falling apart. I hate summer severe weather.
That's when you're stopped. Copy code 4.
Connection failure. Oh, of course there's a supposed connection failure. Ooh, is there a connection failure? Let's see. Let's see. No, I'm still live. Okay, I think I can take that back to 30.
Go up to 16.
Greensburg. East on 30 to Greensburg. Pennsylvania Avenue.
I think the line's going to be confused.
That was made in Mulberry Road. Residential 20, Operation Tag.
Understood.
Confusing ass place to drive, I know that. Or continue on the turnpike, take the turnpike to the east / what I really mean is south, because turnpike. Take it down there, get both of them. Take it to 70. Head towards West Newton, Monessen, Charleroi on that. Could always do that.
Plug in there, I'm not too sure about using a plug-in.
They put stop signs in between their stop signs here. Of course, my camera's going nuts because it's a dumb Garmin camera. All right, east to 70, let's go. So we're still winding our way through here. We're halfway decent view down here in the Ruffsdale Gun Club here. The big old farm. There's a store of some kind with a parking lot right here. Might stop off. This looks like some type of farming outfit. Racetrack Road. Kind of looking at a... Aw. Looking at a storm that's coming, but... This whole day might be a scratch. The whole day might be a scratch, but I think a better bet is probably going to be back to 119.
27 and 1821.
Probably back to 119, go a little further south. That's where something could be. Precocious, adorable sounding kid on the GMRS radio there. That's kind of funny. But I am going to find the lid to my chew while it's not raining. Oh, there we go. That's better. Hey, Joshua Brinker's right down the street. Shout out to him. Pennsylvania Storm Trackers with a Z. Check them out on social media.
Negative.
Alright. I think back to 119. Back to 119 south might be my only shot for the day. Both of those storms are just about my last hope. And they're going to go right through that area. I can't remember if that's Monessen. That might be Monessen down there. Mount Pleasant, Scottdale, like that area down there. Not Monessen. But...
Right.
We head back towards 119. It's about the last best bet. And that's just garden variety thunderstorms. Looks like all of the power has really fallen off for the day. All that nice juice, finally, it's just, falling off. Just kind of chilling on back.
And you're at the sheets currently?
Beck passed the fire call. Go over into Mount Pleasant. Yeah, live 1808. Radar is over 20 minutes old. Yeah, thanks for the refresh. Thanks for working. Lightning in that storm. Like, what is going on here? It's already in through Mount Pleasant. Better chances on heavy precipitation down there, Bessemer, West Overton. That's about it. Overall, that's all this has had to offer so far in truth, is heavy precipitation. Stop at the Mount Pleasant Express. Get my bearings, because that's just a sidewalk. Yeah, maybe back to 119. There could be some flooding down here in Mount Pleasant, maybe. That's about it. Maybe get on 819. Do 819 south out of Mount Pleasant. And then just get like right over there and wait. I'm just not sure it's going to do much of anything other than this. Junction with 819. There's 819 south. It's like a roundabout, except, you know, weird.
Steers out of the drain will be that one. Tree down, block the roadway. Back in. Connection, I
Thank you for the 27 viewers across measured platforms, and then the 70-something viewers. If I can get over 100 on a stream of this, I'm doing okay.
White Village pickup 1.
Tell you, these mugs that Life Flight gave away for EMS week, they'll keep your coffee warm for hours. Man, what a bunch of precip though. Isn't that great? Apparently there's a little place called Bessemer down here. Alright, and I think this is it. AutoZone over here. Like, this is a nice place to just kind of chill out right up here in this top parking lot. Get a good look at what's going on. An overview. And this will probably be the last stand of the stream. Doesn't look like much else is going on. Lightning bolt. See how long it takes to pop up on the lightning tracker.
Alarm company showing an additional alarm. Zone 165 corridor. What a great guy. No, what I don't know yet, I've never used an ATF radio, so, you know, have a alert. From W9 SJO, yep, I understand that antenna you just...
Alright, I'm going to turn off the audio here for a second. I need a device that's connected to the computer real quick, and I'll be back on the mic. Back on the audio, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on the audio. Sorry for the break there. I had to borrow the microphone unit for a look live, and we are back right now. And the warnings are coming in. I can hear them going. I'm going to refresh my HAZ alerts to see what we're dealing with here. A lot of severe warnings out. These are all in other areas, all in other states. Let's go down the line. In Kansas, you're looking at severe thunderstorm warnings in Cherokee County. That's also for Jasper and Newton County, Missouri, expiring in about 49 minutes. Of course, we have severe thunderstorm warnings in Buckingham County, Virginia. We have them in Richmond and Westmoreland County, Virginia, and that's going to be Richmond County, Virginia, not Richmond City. Same with a flash flood warning for Richmond and Westmoreland counties in Virginia, and we have a lot in Oklahoma, just Ottawa, Beckham, Custer, Ellis, Roger Mills, Washita, looking at Craig, Nowata, Beckingham, Custer, Roger Mills, Washita, Blaine, Dewey, Major, and Woodward, Oklahoma, Beckingham, Rogers Mills. A lot going on in Oklahoma right now. Of course, tornado warning out, currently expiring in 18 minutes for Hartley County, Texas. Tornado warning for Hartley County, Texas, and that has been observed. Let's go ahead and click on that. It remains in effect. Looks like it's moving to the south-southeast. Confirmed tornado located 12 miles west of Hartley. That's 15 miles south